Hello friends, Brandy here with Falcon Healing Arts, and welcome to our energy update for January 2023. It's my intention for this session to bring to light the energies that we're all being influenced by right now, and to also acknowledge the themes that are likely to come up around these energies and develop in the month of January. And hopefully with this insight, you'll be able to show up more fully in your life, even if you're called to make significant changes, so you can keep moving forward with courage, aligned with your destiny. So we do these sessions at the beginning of each month. In between, I also do videos to help you heal on all levels of your being. I'm particularly interested in helping women who are ready for a breakthrough to get to the root of anxiety, disconnection, and disempowerment. So if that is something you are interested in, consider subscribing to this channel. If you're not already, make sure you hit the notification bell so you are notified each time I upload a new video, which is usually weekly. Sometimes it's a little less than that. So anyway, I love doing these videos. Intuitive and energy work is at the core of my holistic healing sessions, so you are getting a taste of that here. What we are going to do is first to talk about the collective energy we're all experiencing, this big theme that we're all working with for this month. And then I'm going to pull some tarot cards and we'll get into specifics of things that might come up for you personally. And I'll offer some ideas of how you can move through any shifts that might need to happen. And then we're going to be pulling a goddess card at the end. So the big theme for us as a collective for January, what is coming up for me right now, is that we are building walls of protection. And this is not protection from something negative. So this isn't a weapon that we are using as protection. Again, it's more like a wall, more like a measure, a protective measure. And it's very interesting how this dropped in. I just opened to advice, spiritual advice, on a walk yesterday, just to try to get the trickling in of what we would be focusing on today. Sometimes there's a strong feeling related to that. It feels really strong and secure right now. So it's moving from a place of wisdom and experience. And that is what we are using as a basis for these protective measures. So let me explain. There's a lot of explaining I need to do around this because it ended up being pretty deep and kind of blew my mind. So stick with me here. But it first came in as an image of a dog, a big, fluffy Saint Bernard is what I saw in my mind, and I heard protection. And it's interesting because I doubted myself. It was the ego mind coming in, and I'm like, oh, don't you mean like companionship? Like when I, Brandy, think of a dog, I think more of a companionship, a pet that I love. And immediately it was like, well, that's part of it. But no, we're talking about protection here. And so I was sitting with that going, okay, this is just the beginning. I don't fully understand yet. I walked a ways and then came across one of my neighbors with his big fluffy dog. I don't know dog breeds. I don't think this is a Saint Bernard, but he has two of these big fluffy dogs, and he had just one of them with him. And I was like, whoa, I was just thinking about a dog like you. To the dog, and was just very aware of the strong connection between the two of them, and how, yes, a dog is companionship. It is another being that we're spending our time with. But it was also very clear as I looked at this pair that the dog belonged to this man. The dog would protect this man if anything were to threaten him. And so I was like, okay, that's interesting, very interesting. And I love how it was like building. I was getting more of the story. Later last night, I took a bath and picked up a course in miracles, which I am reading very, very, very slowly. So I'm only a few of the chapters in, but it was on atonement, and I had even forgotten where I left off. So I was amazed to see that this chapter was called Atonement as Defense. And it was talking about how we can use atonement for protection, and that it is the only form of protection that can truly protect us, because other forms of protection can be like a double-edged sword that can protect the one that we're afraid is going to hurt us, but it could also hurt us to some degree, whether self-inflicted or even just the energetic damage from hurting someone else. So I'm not going to get into what the Course in Miracles was saying, because atonement is a big concept here, but you may be aware that atonement in general means to correct mistakes. So to move forward with wisdom or lessons learned from these mistakes. And the reason, so it's saying that the reason this is the biggest defense is that it can't hurt us, because we learn from it. It makes us stronger, more mature, and more secure. So we don't need the protection as we make these adjustments to these errors. And A Course in Miracles says that errors is synonymous with darkness. So when you are correcting, you're bringing those lessons to light, and you're able to make these adjustments that redirect you on your path. And so there's more to this I want to share. I need to look, because again, this is a big concept. I need to look at my notes. Okay, so going back to how defense mechanisms and tools of protection can hurt us. When we feel that something is threatening us, automatically we are giving power to that malevolent energy. Already we're saying, I'm weak. This is stronger than me. This can overpower me. I have no defense. I need something outside of myself to protect me. Okay, and so it can be, in our ordinary reality here, it could be something very, very strong, like a gun. We're not going to get into the whole gun topic here, but obviously that definitely harms the other person, can harm us with accidents, and also that energetic impact of hurting someone else. Even if they deserved it, there is still this harm that we share, this violence that we've partaken in. So that's one big example. I already talked about the double-edged sword, but it's really acknowledging that there's something that can hurt you that causes the most harm. Okay, and so we want to play with that. Of course, there are things that can harm our bodies, but still, we don't want to move forward in life with that fear. Do we always want to be afraid that we're going to get in an accident, that we're going to burn our hand every time we cook? So we don't want to be moving through life in that disempowered state where we're giving more power and energy to these things that can potentially harm us. Instead, we've learned lessons from life. We also know that when we are focused in our life, this is more of a spiritual lesson. Once you're on your path, this is something that I have learned, is when I have been focused on my development, on being more benevolent, focusing on the positive, less less unlucky things seem to happen to me. I have less accidents. I have less problems. And it's very much about where I'm placing my energy. So that is a lesson that I believe we all come to learn with wisdom through moving forward in our life. Okay, so what does this mean for January? You're probably wondering, because there's a lot more you can unpack here about what is protection, what is threatening you. Again, let's not focus on the malevolent energy so much. What we are being called to pay attention to for January is making changes to help us move forward, to realign. And so, what is going to bring us more peace and security? And we're moving forward with these protective measures, not out of fear, but rather out of love, to protect us, to protect the things we love and value, protect the people that we have in our lives. So I just made a quick list here of different aspects of our lives where we feel, and some examples of where we may feel we need to add some protection. Like with business, maybe it means that you need to have legal or client contracts in place so that your relationship with your client is protected, so you feel your business is protected. So it's more, we're talking about protection like wearing a helmet, not like arming yourself. So more defense that is not harming everyone, that's actually strengthening all relationships. So that's one idea. Also, more aligned with business, keeping your ideas more private. This is something I've been working with. For this last year, I've been more out about what I'm sharing here with all of you, all the psychic and shamanic work as well. But lately, I've been feeling more called to keep this private. I will share this with you on YouTube, but I do have some control here with who is commenting. And I'm talking more about sharing things with people in our lives who don't value those things the same way as us. So I'm not going to be sharing information out into the world where I feel it is so precious to me that I don't want it to be ridiculed. I don't want it to be devalued by other people. And sure, just saying that, I feel that there's a disempowerment piece to that too, but it is more protective. You don't constantly want to be putting yourself in a crowd with people who are focused on misunderstanding you, who are focused on purposely turning away from you or ridiculing you. Why would you do that, right? You want to align yourself and be in a position where you and the things that you value are accepted. And with that, you may want to watch my last video on finding your spirit tribe. It can help to this degree when you're wanting to share some aspect of yourself in a way that feels safe to you. But we don't expect that of everyone. So that's why these groups are so important. And I also talk about some drawbacks of a spirit tribe, or a soul tribe is what I was calling it in this video too. There's drawbacks too, so you definitely want to keep that in mind as well, because those drawbacks do also cause disempowerment. Another example, to protect your family time. You may want to carve out time on the calendar. I know with my son, I have the mornings that I protect that are meant for us to connect with homeschooling. On Fridays, I do not work, and that is the protected time I share with him just to do fun things. So you may want to do that with your romantic relationships, carving out time. I do want to go back here that we do these, again, You might be called to do these things from mistakes or challenges that you experienced last year or in the past. So from that, you're seeing, okay, things need to change. And this is one way we can do that. So we do need to think about the mistakes, the lessons learned, the errors, and how we can fix that. So with the contracts, maybe there was a client relationship that didn't work out well and could have been prevented by clear wording in a contract. So things like this are what I'm thinking of on this list that you can remedy. Okay, so also more about protecting this is about protecting your mind, limiting TV. If you're highly influenced by what's on the TV, in the media, you may want to limit your time with certain sources. And also being more discerning with the information that you are exposed to. So even if it is alternative news or from a friend who you're usually very aligned with, but they give you some news or piece of advice and in your heart it just doesn't feel right, you need to trust that. Trust that. And when you get that ping of this isn't right, again, it is usually from a period of time in the past where you have been burned, maybe when you have been too gullible, too trusting, giving people the benefit of the doubt. It doesn't mean that you shut down completely. It just means that you're questioning more, that you are being more discerning. And of course, all of us in the collective need to be doing this more with the media because it is very clear at this point. There has been so much disclosure about it being so biased that we need to keep that in mind. That doesn't mean you need to stop watching it completely, as long as you are realizing that you are watching through someone else's filter. Okay? Okay, so limiting TV. Also, maybe it's changing the way your child is being schooled. Maybe you're choosing homeschooling this year or a private school. Again, making an adjustment from something that was not working in the past. It's just a little redirection. Maybe you don't want to start homeschooling, which can feel like you're going in the complete other direction. Just make a tweak and see if you can make it better. Investing in your money differently. This is going to come up again with one of the tarot cards I pulled. Of course, many of us are feeling that we are under a financial strain or need to start thinking about how we're spending our money differently. So that may be one thing that you want to change in January. Putting in more protective measures around your money, how you're spending, how you're saving, how you are dealing with it in general. Being more discerning with that. Okay, and the last example I have here is just making lifestyle changes to protect your body, heart, mind, and spirit. Many of us are in this frame of mind anyway in January, this time of year, not so much thinking about mistakes or things from the past we want to change, but just wanting to do the best for ourselves. So again, out of a place of love. Let's fully support that as you move forward. Okay, so again, we're talking about here protecting and defending the things you treasure, the things that you love, that are a part of you. Not based on fear, and it's a response to the past in many cases. Okay, so the past is valuable. We don't want to dwell on it. We want to learn from it. We can learn so much. And that's what we're constantly doing in life, is doing things that may or may not benefit our growth. And if they do not benefit, we adjust and keep moving forward. Okay, So let us get into the cards now. No fear about this first card I pulled, which is Death. Okay, so take a look at this first. This is from the Star Tarot deck, which I've been using the whole time we've been doing these videos together. This shows the figure of Death, so hooded, dark, can't see the face, but he's holding light. So he's holding light as he's moving through darkness. Up above him is Nut, the goddess Nut, Egyptian goddess, who brightens the night sky. He is accompanied here by a phoenix, which we know is the symbol of death and rebirth. That is how they live their lives, showing that there is a cycle of youth, of vibrant energy, then getting sick, growing old, withering away, burning to ashes, and then re-emerging from those ashes, brand new again. So beautiful energy. And there is also a butterfly. It's very small there, but there's a butterfly hovering right in front of his face. So it's very clear that this is about transformation. Okay, so this card symbolizes change, renewal, and the promise of rebirth. It's a promise. There is something, always something on the other side of the death. So that is what we can be focusing on for January. That if there is a change that needs to be made, no fear that this is not, there's so much negativity and stigma around this card, around the word death. And it's such a beautiful experience for even just the mortal death, that this passage into our unchanging nature, there is so much beauty about that, about this going home. But we're terrified of that, many of us. It feels like an ending, a solid ending. And that is a spiritual problem. That is a very deep and big spiritual problem. To get you used to that, to help you to process that and prepare you for that moment we are all going to reach, we honor the little deaths, all these little changes that need to be made to have a fulfilling life. Okay, so much needed change is what this card is all about. And to identify what that much needed change is, you can ask yourself, what am I clinging to? What am I clinging to in this life? Is it your mortality? Are you doing everything possible? We've seen this over the last 3 years of everyone doing everything they can to not get sick, which is not reasonable. To have that fear for 3 years. So hopefully many people have moved through that. I believe that's true. The majority now have moved past that and are seeing that they need to change their relationship to life, to acknowledge that there are always risks. But again, in my experience, I don't have them as much when I am focused on the positive, focused on growth and spiritual development. So what are you clinging to? Is it your mortality? Is it something else? Is it your status? Is it, I don't know. I am having a hard time thinking because there are so many things. It's like clogging my mind. Is it making a business change? So redirecting, doing something you really want to love and maybe being afraid that you can't make money doing it. So it's things like that. That we need to take the risk. Follow your joy, follow your love, follow that heartfelt desire for change. So you're also encouraged to think about where you are in your life. What is the general emotional tone? Is it stagnation? Is it grief or worry. These are all places, emotional places we find ourselves lodged in when we are stuck too much in the past or even the present. But it's the present with our heels. We're setting our heels into the ground like, I don't want to move forward. So what do you have that energy around? Think about that. What are you resisting? What are you not willing to meet or explore? Really dig into that, and then see, is it possible? Do you have the strength inside to push that boundary a bit and move forward? Okay, that's enough with that card. But we definitely don't want this to fester, the stagnation, because it will cause dis-ease. So that could be physical disease, or it can be disease of the mind, of the heart as well. And with the heart, it is more dis-ease. You are not at ease. You are not at peace. Okay, this is where we are controlled by fear and are just in that very confronting energy. And that will go back to that need of protection too. Okay, again, let's move on. So next is another of the big cards, the Chariot, which is number 7. Okay, so this is a warrior, and he has 2 steeds here. Pegasus is plural. So one white, one black, so yin and yang. The 2 sides, the duality that we experience in life. There's also a yin-yang symbol here in the middle. That's on his shield. He also has a heart emblem at his chest. There's stars everywhere because this is the star astrology or star tarot deck. But he is also teaching about change. So more change, but more intuitive action that is leading to victory. So this is through willpower and also through self-mastery. You can only experience mastery after you have tried things over and over and have learned many lessons from that. So this warrior has gone through many battles. Some he may have lost, but still lived. So he endured. He was persistent. He trudged forward. And now he is one of the strongest warriors because of that. He has inner strength. So it's about determination and to remember that you can overcome any blocks that may become obstacles in your life. So we identify those obstacles and listen for intuitive guidance to help you move through that. So the intuitive guidance is the destiny. That's where he's moving forward on this chariot. So it's not just a picture of the warrior, but he's on a chariot. He's moving on this vehicle, moving forward. Okay, so you can process that more on your own, what you're feeling called to move forward with. Again, very similar to the Death card, where change is needed to happen. But listen more to your intuition now about how you can actually make those changes. Okay? All right, so now we are ending on a tougher card, but this is where many of us are going to be this month and early this year with the 5 of Pentacles. So you see this man, he is weary, he has his head down, and he's moving forward in the dark. So again, he's moving. All of these are about movement and change. He is accompanied by a big fluffy dog. So I just pulled these cards a few hours ago, and it is aligned with what I was receiving yesterday about the dogs. But this is a spirit animal. So dogs in real life, sure, they are our companions. They can also be this great defensive mechanism. If I lived in the country, I would certainly have a lot of dogs. I would just feel safer that way, having them for protection. Again, not focused on making them attack dogs, but just knowing, forming a relationship with them that is so strongly about love that they would protect me. It would be innate. It would just happen. With a spirit animal, I want to bring this up too, because a lot of people have the desire to meet their spirit animals, which is something I do quite a lot with shamanic healing. And that is the basis of my business now. Most people are wanting shamanic healing in our holistic healing sessions and in my pathway to empowerment. And one of the first things we always do is to find the person's spirit animal, or power animal, we call it. And it's more about building up personal power, not relying on the spirit as a defense against malevolent energy. Yes, it will do that, but that is not the main reason we want to have them in our practice. It's more of to build our own personal power and the security that comes from that. So again, it's more of a positive spin on this protection energy. Okay, we're not focused on defending from these bad energies or spirits. If you are afraid of that, that means you are valuing it. You're valuing it more than your potential and your power. So that's a huge shift that you'll need to make if that's something that you're doing. Okay, so let's get more into this card, but just wanted to talk about the power animal spirit here, because that is what this spirit guide is for him. It is a companion. It is also protection. But this card has to do with finding the riches within. So that power within, but also the riches within. Because I believe that this card is bringing up the what many of us are going to be experiencing with the financial crisis right now. I do believe we are getting to a crisis point in the next few months, and I hope this doesn't bring up a lot of fear in you, because this has been happening all last year. It has been building. So hopefully you are starting to make some changes with the way you are working with your money. But this can also come with your health, your work, your relationship, any worry about your security in all those aspects of your life. The worry and security, these are all first chakra issues around safety. So not having a firm foundation under you is what this can bring up. Fear around not being supported. Now this is the Five of Pentacles. Pentacles is an earth sign. So the earth is what provides for us. It's what we can connect to when we are having issues with the first chakra too, when we are having issues with safety and security. And I do have a video on connecting with earth energy that can help you move through this and build your personal power with help from the earth, so that the spirit and energy of the earth. But this will also help open you up to spiritual guidance as well, which we have to lean into when we are having issues this big. When it is out of your control, that is when you look up. So connect down to the earth, open up to spirit above, to your creator, and whatever that means for you. So this is a very, very humbling card, because you're admitting that you're not feeling secure, that you need help with that. You may need to ask someone for help to manage the way you're dealing with things in your life, with your lifestyle. Also help with how you are coping mentally and emotionally, because this is going to be challenging for many people at the beginning of this year. Okay. So it's a humbling card. It's helping us to reevaluate what's important. It's also helping us to detach from our social status, whatever we associate with security. Okay, so if it's money, if we have less of it, if we need to downsize our home, if we need to change our relationship, there may also be some worry about what people might think if that happens. We can let that go. We need to let that go, but also realize that many people, probably the majority of people, are going to be experiencing some type of struggle here. So some type of first chakra struggle where we are not feeling secure and need to find that inner power, to find the riches within. Okay, so a lot of soul searching needs to happen with this spiritual connection to the earth, to the divine, who are our biggest protectors from love. And just remember that some challenges occur so we can learn from them. Okay? And also, so we are challenged to seek higher, seek bigger. I do believe, even though it's to different degrees for everyone, that all of us have this need to develop spiritually, to form a greater relationship with our Maker. And moving through challenges is what makes us question why we're here. What is the point of this all? And when we start asking these bigger questions, when we are broken down to the point where there is no other option, where we feel like no one else can help us, that is when we receive these biggest nuggets of truth. So it's the truth that we open up to and what we find security in. And you'll know when you are experiencing your truth. Okay, let us end, friends, with pulling a goddess card. Let me do a big shuffle once. So these goddess cards I found are really useful to help us kind of stitch everything together here. So hopefully the goddess that comes forward now, again, Pachamama. Pachamama is here to help us process all of this. Oops, you can't see her very well. Okay. So I think we got her last month. Was it last month? I'm going to read her poem again. Okay, so she is depicted here as the mountain, also related to the earth. I believe last time I was also talking about the air around her, because last month the air energy was more predominant than the earth. I feel like it's more earth this month. And Pachamama is about healing, holing, and being holy. So we'll receive more wisdom from her, this archetype that's within all of us and is part of our bigger spirit that we connect to. I sing a song of love from the stones of my body, from the high peaks of my mountains, from the hot sands of my deserts. I caress you with green leaves, green plants, green grasses. I bathe you in greenery and feed you from my breast, the earth. I soothe you with sparkling waters, refresh you in my oceans. My song of love for you is my body, the earth, there to feed you, clothe you, home you. Learn my song and it will heal you. Sing my song and it will whole you. Dance with me and you'll be holy. Okay, so communing with Pachamama, communing with nature. This is what I talk about a lot in the Earth video. I highly suggest that you check out. This is the doorway in to establishing this protection and helping you have the courage to move forward. So remembering that you can always rely on the earth for sustenance. And a great protective measure is to not be so frivolous with how we are spending our lives and instead simplify things. Live closer to the earth, more aligned with the earth, asking for the earth for protection and also offering the earth protection, that there is this symbiotic relationship, acknowledging that. Let me just see if there's any more. Yeah, simplifying was the big word I heard when I was reading the poem. So simplifying as a means of protection. Trust. Know that this is temporary, is what I'm also hearing. But it's still a good idea to live this way most of the time. Okay. I feel this is complete. I hope it feels complete for you. If not, please ask questions in the comments below. I love hearing your take on everything that I share. Because of course, we all have different experiences. We're just talking about themes here. So your experience, of course, may be very unique. But I would love to hear about it. I would love to help you process any of this. Well wishes to you, friends. I hope that January is absolutely wonderful for you, and I will see you again soon. Take care.